Hi everyone, this is Tanya.
And this is Adriana.
And this is Closing the Gap, a social justice podcast where we talk about everyday issues that have to do with social justice and how we can actually create a more just world for everybody, especially people and populations who have not had that experience. So today we're really excited. It's our second episode in season 2, and we're starting it off amazing with this great guest. So Adriana will introduce our wonderful guest today.
Yes, today we will be interviewing Chi Bailey. He is originally from North Carolina. He's a young fashion designer who in 2014 founded Chi.qc, a storytelling brand that exists to help us become more childlike. The brand is an upcycling clothing brand that makes unique handcrafted pieces out of previously used garments. As an activist in his own right, Chi's work with Chi.qc focuses on environmental impact and sustainability while incorporating creativity and his love of God. We do plan with this episode on focusing on how clothing can be used as a tool of activism for sustainability. And we're really happy to have Chi here. Hello.
Hey, you.
So we want to go ahead and start off, Chi, by asking what inspired you to start the brand and what are the brand's goals?
Man, what inspired me to start the brand? Well, I was a sophomore in 2014, and I had so many things on my mind. Just one, not even wanting to be in school. I did not like. I don't know. For me, it felt very slow and sluggish. I was like always on to the next thing. But I was also finding what I wanted to do in life, and everyone I would talk to said, "Do what you love to do." But it was also a very dark time in my life. I didn't even have anything I loved to do, and I just all of a sudden started just drawing in class when I was supposed to be doing the warm up, and just started drawing clothes, which I never had done before in my life. But I did used to draw like anime characters like Dragon Ball Z and make little comic books, and show them to my mom, stuff like that. So drawing was something I did love, but it was years since I did that. But started drawing clothes, kept drawing clothes for a while. I found it to be very fun, prayed about it just to God that I would, find some sort of success and longevity in it, because I didn't want to put my time into something and it just disappear. And the Lord gave me confidence that it would continue. And so I just really went all into building the brand. But the truth is, the brand was kind of just like a moniker for anything I created up until, I would say, 2019, which is when the first collection started. Because after I started fashion design, I did sound design, and then I did photography, then I did filmmaking in North Carolina. Then I moved out here to LA in 2018. Took like a year off to like really find God. That's when I started reading like the Bible and there's more to life than all this stuff. Then I got saved, and then I was like, how can I be an artist and be saved at the same time and really be honest to who I am? And so God just gave me a lot of direction and peace, and I started the first collection called the Born Again collection, based on being a new creature, going from an old creature to a new creation, which is how I came upon the name Born Again Garments, old clothes into new clothes. And just started the collection with all the shorts, the 20 shorts, and then did the Love of God collection, and then here I am working on the Sunset collection.
I really love that connection between born again as a person. You felt born again, and then you brought that into your work very literally, but also very figuratively. It's such a great way to show all of us the power of creativity, of art, how we can really put our passions and beliefs into the work. And for me, first question is, what does born again as a garment mean? Like, why do we need born again garments? Yeah. What is the issue with new garments, if you will? What is the really activist part of those, of creating garments out of what would have been in a landfill?
Yeah, definitely. So Born Again Garments and upcycling, that's pretty much my branded term for upcycling. It's more unique to my company. And upcycling is taking something and elevating its value through creativity. So that's what I do with shirts. I'll take 3 shirts, combine them into one, and now it's worth more than the one. Each shirt, were individually. And so it's important because there's so many things just laying around, and I have it on my website, eco-friendly page, where it talks about, the stories behind each garment. And I mean, maybe others don't think about it that way, but when I thrift things or I go to warehouses and I look at all these shirts, a lot of shirts, you can tell that they're not mass produced, but maybe some teenager somewhere just made the shirt, and very like handmade. It has like writing on the neck tag and stuff like that. Like this was part of someone's life at one point. And maybe you don't see that in the design, but you see it in just the age of the fabric. You have some sort of sense of time that's been passed, that someone's lived in the shirt, because there's like holes here, holes there. And that really influences the look of the final piece, you know, whether it's how the design is aged or where there's distressing at. And I like to use that as a storytelling mechanism because I just think that's more interesting than grabbing like virgin fabrics and using that to just make a shirt that just looks perfectly white or perfectly black. Like some of my, aside from my designs, a lot of my best selling pieces are when I play with like faded blacks. I'll put black on top of faded black on top of an even faded black. And so it looks black from a distance, but like the closer you get, it's like faded black on top of black on top of black on black. It just looks really cool. And you just get this sense of time and texture that you don't from a new garment, you know?
I love that perspective so much. It's so easy, right? I know I'm guilty of it. Whenever I like stain a shirt and it's not coming out, I think it's pretty much useless. But I love that perspective of like seeing and using it and being able to create something out of it. There's still life in that piece.
Yeah, definitely. I have personal things that I have that had like bleach stains on it that I thrifted because I was like, oh, the whole thing is perfect except this like one bleach stain. So I'll just sew like denim patch on top of it. And people ask me like, oh, is that a design? I'm like, no, there's a stain under here. And then and they're like, oh, okay. But it looks cool like where it's at because it's like this whole shirt and then like just one black patch like just right here. But, you know, I have like other details on it. So it sort of comes together. And I mean, it's unique. It gives it character. So why not?
Exactly, unique. Yeah, I think that perspective is unique because we, especially in the US, don't necessarily think of clothes as something having life. It's something that you kind of use for an occasion. I think especially in the US, use for an occasion and then get rid of it. My friends have donated clothes to me, like giving me clothes that they didn't want to use anymore. I'm like, why? It's perfectly fine. You only used it a few times and I'm still using them like 10 years later. So I'm very much a person that we need to take the life out of these. We really need to use them for what they are. I mean, if you see pictures of people in other places in the world, they're using American brands, American clothes that we just throw away and send to other countries because it's like, oh, it's our waste. But they see it as treasure. They're like, no, this shirt is perfectly fine. Why would they throw it away? Well, that's fine. I'll use it now, you know? So I do think and I think you are such a great example of someone that's addressing that issue firsthand in a very unique way because you're incorporating your love of God, of the environment. I think cultural as well. You're very proud of your Black and Korean side and you show it on your website and your Instagram, just saying all of these aspects of me are in my clothes. So I just love that you're showing up for everything that you stand for and really doing that in a way that people can support you back as well, right? So it's not just because I know sometimes it can just be like, activism can be really like not thank you for it, but you're telling people you can actively support me by supporting this brand as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for all the positive words. It was definitely something I wasn't sure I could do, like because I was like, okay, I'm starting this clothing brand, which is its own thing, but also teaching people about sustainability. Like I wasn't really sure like how that was gonna really fare out in the end. But honestly, I would just say experience, expertise, and prayer is really what gave me guidance because at the end of the day, this is God's brand and I just want to honor what he's given me. You know, he's given me such a great opportunity because it's like I look at like the things on my wall and my sketchbooks and I know this sounds weird and anyone can take it the wrong way, but like I'm a fan of Chi.qc. Like I love because I'm like slowly discovering like all these designs that God has like pushed through me. It's like, wow, like all these things connect into all these stories. And like the Love of God design was actually 2 separate designs that I drew back in 2014. Funny enough, I've only put out designs I've designed back in 2014. I've just reused them so much and refined them. Like the jellyfish look very different when I started out. Like it looks simpler now. The paws and the love balloon, those were 2 different designs I drew back in 2014. And I just combined that into one design. So it was like the hug from the paws and then the love balloon in like the top right shoulder and on the back because I thought it looked cool like it was floating off the shirt. And I was like, what if I just combine it and draw like a string and make it hug? And I was like, okay, what should I name it? And then so I kind of had that design tucked for about 7 years before I put it out, which is kind of funny. But I've incorporated new things as well. Like it's not just 2014 designs, but it's just interesting how deep our ideas are without us knowing it and applying it later. And it has a good idea is still a good idea, no matter how old it is. you know?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I feel like it's easy to really get caught up and think like we have to keep moving on to the next thing. And sometimes we don't really look back and refine things of our past.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in a way reflective.
Yeah, and it's the same way with the clothing. You know, it's worth something's worth doing over and over again if it's truly good, or wearing over and over again. And so, like me personally, I'm not like the richest person ever, but I would say I have expensive taste, and other people would say that also. And but it's not even because I'm like trying to be bougie, but it's like I just don't feel like buying it a second time, you know? Like even the pans I have in my kitchen, it's like they're copper or like just cast iron, and they're not cheap, but it's like I'm not gonna have to buy another one of those pans ever again, you know? Like I'm never gonna have to buy a frying pan or another Dutch oven. I have jackets that I thrifted that were like Russian work coats made in the 50s, before there was even like branded work coats. And it's like I really have never have to buy or replace that again. I'll just wear all these other things. And I think it's useful to keep that in mind as we buy things, but I keep that in mind as I make things, because even though my stuff is handmade, and typically handmade things come with like a handle with care label, please dry clean only, which is ideal. But I know at the end of the day, no one's gonna really do that. You're just gonna toss it in your washing machine and just, move on. So I engineer everything to be very strong. I put like bar tacks where they're supposed to be. I actually triple stitch a lot of my patches so that like even things like this, you can't see it, but it's not like just one, it's like a triple stitch. So it's really never going to go away unless you just give it away. Like I try to make them very long lasting, and the pieces I choose to thrift on or to upcycle are also very heavy. So I never use like even medium weight. I typically never use medium weight. I typically always use heavyweight garments when I upcycle, just because they last longer.
Yeah, really going back to what is consumption? How do we consume? I mean, when we see these Black Fridays coming up, sales like that, where it's just like, hey, you can get this for half off for $5. And so we're told every day cheaper is better. And so to wait for those sales and to go to those brands that always have sales. I don't even use fast fashion, but I still get their ads. And I'm like, why? They know I don't buy from them, but they just target me anyway. So it's annoying. Of course, someone who maybe doesn't have that in mind or doesn't know what fast fashion is, it's easy to just consume that ad and then consume from them, buy those things that are cheap. But like you said, you'll be buying that shirt again in a week or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Low quality. You might as well save your money and buy something from cheap.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I do feel like it's easy to, because I resonate with you. I also do have pretty expensive taste, but it's because I look at it as an investment. At this time, if I do spend a little bit more, I'm able to use it more. And who knows, I might even be able, to your point, people are able to thrift some jackets that are a lot older, but because of the quality, you're still able to use it even after so many years. It's still good. So I do think it's tough, right? Because when it comes to fast fashion, at least financial wise, it is a little bit more accessible. But like we're all saying, and we can all agree, in the long run, it's not worth it.
Yeah. It's an easy way to answer a problem, but it also, other than that, it's also just telling these companies we want more of this. That's what it's doing at the end of the day, because you vote with your dollar. That's how we got shelves full of almond milk and oat milk, because people stopped giving their money to dairy milk. And so we can't just keep, like me, I don't shop at any fast fashion spots anymore. Just for me, it's that, and it's a quality thing. It's like at the end of the day, even if it was, ethical, it's like the quality sucks. And so I am fortunate to have a choice. And so I shop elsewhere. But even if you don't really have much of a choice, thrifting is even cheaper than fast fashion a lot of times, especially if you're being mindful of it. Like even out here in LA, there's Goodwills that are expensive, but there's local thrift stores that still have thrift prices like $3, $4, $5 for things. Like Salvation Army, I go during their half off days. I literally raid every good pair of jeans that they have. And so I have like a stack of jeans in my place because I'm preparing for my next collection. So I need a lot of denim. And so each pair was like $4. And this is like heavy jeans, like heavy vintage jeans, like Wranglers, Lee jeans, Levi's, designer jeans, Calvin Klein, like just heavy ones that are like over 10 years old. And so it's an art, but when you find that one piece, it's like you just found it. And plus, also, you can go to a tailor. I think a lot of us disregard that. A lot of clothes back then was tailored clothing. Ready to made is a fairly new phenomenon. Something being, oh, this just kind of fits me, I'll wear it. Back then, everything just fit because you had a tailor. What's your measurements? They made it fit you, and that's your measurement. And so that's how your clothing look. I think it's useful to also just use tailors. Get some jeans that are a little bit big, but maybe they fit your thighs good. Have the tailor take it into your waist, and now you will literally have like the perfect pair of jeans for, I don't know, like $20 to them, another $20 for the jeans. Who knows?
So we can still get those sales just instead of Walmart at Salvation Army. I'm all for sales, so that's good to hear. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm hearing like we really have to, with slow fashion, which is the opposite of fast fashion, right? Just adopting that lifestyle. You're saying secondhand, which could be thrifting. I mentioned like using your friends. You can switch with your friends. If your friends are tired of one outfit, it could be a new outfit to you. Upcycling, which you're beautifully doing. And yeah, just going for those brands that are actually caring for the environment. And so we really talked about the environment piece, but something else that really stood out to me from you is the way that you emphasize that you're sweatshop free, that you are also incorporating the people aspect, the human aspect. You have a community around you and you take care of them. Can you talk a little bit more about that, what that means to you?
Yeah, for sure. When I first started doing research of just the fashion industry in 2019, because I wanted to figure out where I could get my fabrics from for my designs, I really saw, aside from, okay, polyester is not as good as cotton, for obvious reasons, it's plastic, but just the treatment of cheap labor, just how they treated cheap labor. And it's not even in fashion, but just even in like the coal mines or the mines where they get all the metals for our computers and things like that, in a lot of third world countries. And there's a lot of kidnapping that can be involved and like random things, especially when you get into chocolate farms and cocoa farms. It's surprisingly still littered with, slave trading. Just taking all that in mind, I was like, I don't even want to be kind of a part of that. So that was a big reason why I just learned how to make the clothing myself. Because I was like, quality wise, I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I also don't know how to trust a manufacturer. These days, I've actually met with some for the first time in the past month to start getting things made. So that's growth for me. But I started because I just cared so much about, how can I do this the right way? And I've been slowly learning over time because I just couldn't stand seeing, first of all, children in other countries, but just anyone being paid like 25 cents to make like a full-fledged, like I would never do any of this for 25 cents. Like that's wild to me. Like, I don't know why that would even be a thing. I get volume, but it's like also the living conditions in Bangladesh. Some like building fell down, killed like over 1,000 people. And, so there's so many different malpractices that are taking place along with these poor wages, as in like low wages that they are giving their people. A lot of times the whole family is working at the factory because one income is simply not enough. So you have the mom, the dad, all the children, not just one of the children, like all of them. And they're also living in one spot, barely making enough to live and eat for the day. And so I've done a lot of research, and a lot of clothes we get utilize those factories like H&M, Zara, Shein, American Eagle, Old Navy, even Levi.
It's a lot of brands. It's not even just the brands that are known for fast fashion, but it's even some of the higher end ones like Skims. It comes down to their practices. It's not just about price point.
Yeah, because it's the brand at the end of the day. And Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Balenciaga, all their stuff is made in China. And there's great factories. I mean, best factories in the world are in China. I definitely want to get some things made in China someday when it makes sense. But for right now, my production is going to remain in America. But yeah, it's not restricted to the cheaper brands only. It goes all the way up to high fashion.
And good point. It's not restricted to just Bangladesh or China. And
Yeah.
to really emphasize, these are American brands offshoring their labor because they know it's cheaper. So it's not like of course, Bangladesh is also allowing this to happen. But in that case, there's also a US aspect because they want to keep using those factories. And so it's a very international cause, just requires change of international policies. But like you mentioned earlier, we vote with our dollars. So at least what we can do in our daily lives is make sure we support brands who have, like you said, it's on your website. Every sustainable brand that I know of has that on their website. Like they're very proud of against that. And so they name it on their website. Just looking for that when you shop for something can be really powerful.
Yeah, transparency is what I would look for the most. Like there's a much bigger brand called Industry of All Nations, and they're headquartered out here in LA. I actually been to their headquarters. I went to Reformation's headquarters also, and I went through their factory. But Industry of All Nations, one of the most transparent brands that I know of. Like I definitely want to get my transparency, yes, but my documentation of it, because they have so you'll click on like an indigo shirt, and then down below it is like video of the people that are dyeing it and like the places that they're being made at, like a whole article written on like where this dye and the labor is sourced to make this item. And it's really cool just being able to see that versus a brand that's just selling you a certain price because it's Levi's or it is what it is, So above all those other things of ethical labor, it's that we're all made in the image of God, and it's like we all deserve that respect. You know, like it says, the worker deserves his wages. So it's like if someone does something for me, like I want to be able to pay them or at least give them a meal. You know, plenty of times I've worked with my friends, I couldn't pay them as much as would like to pay them, but I at least want to, you know, make it easy for them to collaborate with me. Okay, let me pay for your gas or your food, because I know what it's like to put your creativity to something and someone just kind of treats it like nothing. So I consider that down to anyone that will help me make these pieces of clothing at the end. You know, I'm willing to pay whatever that costs reasonably to get it done, because it's a talent. Like it's a good skill, and it matters.
Yeah, we have to take care of each other no matter where we are, what country we're in. Like you said, at the end of the day, we're all humans, so we all deserve that respect. I'm glad you brought up that dye aspect. I know fast fashion also pollutes water, pollutes land just from all the chemicals they use and just don't treat before they get rid of it, essentially, which is just putting it into a river or something. And that's getting to a whole other topic. I know we have limited time today, so I'll put some articles in the show notes. We're going to, of course, put Chi's website, Instagram in the show notes as well, so you can connect with him and his brand. Is there anything else you wanted to add? I know we touched on a lot today, but there's like a few takeaways you can leave for our listeners, and then of course let them know what's coming up for you, because it's very exciting. Yeah, just feel free to finish with that.
Well, I would say in the line of sustainability, never forsake your taste level. You know, I have a pretty high taste level, and I'm able to find everything that I need, whether it's thrifting or I make it or I just invest. I consider every piece an investment, because I mean, if you have to buy a new pair of jeans every year, you might as well just squish all that down into 1 year and just buy the next 10 years of jeans inside of, I don't know, 1 or 2 pairs, and really just have a solid lineup. And so that's one tip that I would always recommend: thrift or just invest, you know, just straight up. And then as for Chi.qc, you know, very unique in like the color palettes that I work with. You touched on it earlier with, you know, what the company's about, being childlike. And I think that's what I would like people to understand just moving forward from here. Like, yeah, I do upcycling things, but overall it's a storytelling company. You know, I love telling stories. That's why I was involved with film for so long before I really moved out here to LA. And I use that in a lot of my collections to really drive home the narrative, because it's never about the shirts or the pants or the shorts. It was always about the story. You know, the Born Again collection was always about the story. It was about what is the love of God. And so that's why all the videos that came out with it really animated what that is. And the garments were just, you know, manifested meanings of the collection. So for anyone looking for a path to being childlike in this very serious world, I think Chi.qc is something to check out. Yeah, I just like to keep it playful, but also curious, but educating at the same time. And just, I want to give people a way to think about things they never had the chance to think about before, especially in terms of peace, humility, their purpose in life, and God overall. There's so many things that we believe about that stuff just naturally, but a lot of us haven't really given the proper information to think about in order to come to the right conclusion. So I just like the exploration of curiosity, knowledge, and creativity. And that's what Chi.qc is like, an embodiment of. So yeah, be childlike.
I love the concept of your entire brand. And not sure if I missed it, but did you mention when your new collection is going to be released? I know I'm very excited. Listeners, like Tanya mentioned, we are going to include all of Chi's information in our show notes, and I can't recommend checking out his stuff enough. There were so many things that I wanted from his previous collections, but by the time I had discovered the brand, they were all sold out, so I'm really excited for this upcoming collection. But yeah, I'm not sure if you mentioned the date of when your new collection will be releasing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So the Sunset collection is planned to release next year. I've been working on prototypes, and I'm actually right now planning a early photo shoot of it this year so that I can drop some photos of the outfits, because all the past 2 collections have been items. Like Love of God was tops, Born Again was bottoms. This collection is going to be 20 outfits. Yeah, like it's going to be like looks. So I've been exploring like, what is the Chi.qc look other than what is the Chi.qc design? So it's really pushed me creatively as a designer, because I've been getting into styling the past like year or so, and just realizing like how, like when I first got into fashion, it was really just me and my friends trying to be fresher than each other every day at school. And that was like a whole thing, like trading shoes to try to like one up each other. Like, oh, now I got the Space Jams and the cool grays, and so it really like took me back to that time when I first started Chi.qc. And yeah, but the Sunset collection is based on a poem poem that I wrote back in 2020. And I've written poetry for a while, but this is my first time like actually putting it out publicly. So that's exciting. I already shot the film for it. I directed it last year. So the film is done, and it's about how sunsets are so beautiful, and we never get tired of sunsets, no matter how old or young we are. And we can always see the beauty of God in a sunset, because other than like the space we live in on the earth, you know, there used to be sequoias here and who knows how many types of plants. But when we look at the sky, we see the same sunset as our ancestors, as Abraham, as Adam and Eve. We see the same one because the sky is basically untouched up to this day. And so I just use that as like a metaphor for God's immortality, the wonderfulness of his creation, and also just the beauty of what we've been placed in on this earth, and how we should, one, take care of it, and two, enjoy it. And so, yeah, the Sunset Collection has a great message behind it, and the designs are just as dope. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited.
We are too. It sounds like a lot of fun. I love how you're addressing so many real world, really depressing sometimes issues. You know, we talk about labor and things like that and the environment getting harmed, but in a fun way. Like you mentioned, it can be a very bright, hopeful message with none other than a beautiful sunset. So thank you for showing us there's a lot of joy and brightness in the world still.
No problem. Thanks for bringing me on.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming back to season 2. And for those who are new, welcome, welcome. We are so excited for this season. Please be sure to keep up with new episodes by subscribing, by following our Instagram if you have Instagram at Closing the Gap Pod. And if you have any questions or feedback, you can email us at closingthegappod@gmail.com.